Welcome to Executives at the Edge, the podcast from Amplify. Each episode features insights from the top network, cloud, and technology executives, giving you key takeaways to help you grow your revenue and bring solutions to market faster. I'm your host, Pascal Menezes. Join me as we explore thought-provoking perspectives from the leaders and changemakers propelling the AI-powered digital economy forward. I'm so very excited to have Salma Bezrati. She's the Director of Product Management for Bell Canada. She's in charge of network practice for enterprise customers. And today we're going to have a really fascinating episode on network as a service. Not only technically what it is, but really what are the challenges, commercial models, basically models of people involved, and how do you manage that, people expectations and customer expectations and outcomes. So really exciting show. So with that, Salma, can you talk a little bit about yourself and Bell Canada? That'd be appreciated for our listeners.
Hi, Pascal. Thank you for having me today. I'm Salma Bezrati, in charge of network practice within Bell Business Market. I've been there for 13 years, mainly having a background of IT and network. Bell Business Market is a division within Bell Canada, so we're in charge of enterprise customer. From the mid-market to the enterprise, we're providing connectivity services, IoT, vertical. We're providing also verticals, all between wireless and wireline. Bell Canada is having the biggest footprint on the fiber in Canada, and we have also outside footprint.
Sounds really, really amazing. So welcome and thank you for really being participant in this episode and for Executives at the Edge. So, there's some really interesting questions I think everybody has top of their mind. We talk about network as a service. Amplify is all about now network as a service. We have our definition, but really, what is your definition, and what do you think everybody talks about when they say network as a service?
Yeah, very good question, Pascal. When I started this journey of network as service 2 years ago, that was my initial mandate within product. It was to revamp how we're providing that. And for me, there is two types of definition. There is a definition of the network layer that is talking on how we automate our network layer, the provisioning and all of that. But I'm more focusing about how the experience of network as a service. So we're selling a brand new experience to our customer about the outcome, and we're not selling boxes and bandwidth anymore. For me, network as service is a digital first experience and platform that provide connectivity on demand. And everything beyond that, it's access agnostic, it's usage based, it's to provide the customer what they need when they need them. That's really the very high level definition for me.
Yeah, I think it's really an excellent definition. I think a lot of us think about this from a technical term, but also there's commercial points of view, right? And it's been very hard to do network as a service like from a cloud SaaS offering or IaaS offering where it's truly usage-based and there's no contracts. Is that kind of what you're talking about in some ways, the commercial?
Yes, exactly. Commercially, and it's really hard to do that, but that's where I'm going with my definition. So we're not talking about the rigid contract that is 5 years anymore. We're talking about real-time qualification, real-time serviceability, having short-term contract, on demand and usage-based. So if customer wants the internet for a band, if they want internet and they want the chance, the bandwidth within like a couple of minutes, it's gonna happen. There is no commitment, long-term commitment anymore. And the reason behind that, when I talk to the customer sometime, technology is evolving, and we need new things each time. So if we're going with long-term commitment and the customer wants something new, so they need to buy a new service. So the kind of experience that we're offering, it's a platform that is everything new with the peer, and customer can take it when they need it.
I love what you said about outcomes. And I think that's really what everybody's after is what is the outcome that gives a great experience and not the technology bolts underneath, but also the outcomes also means the commercial we just talked about. So with that, I do have a couple of questions. You said, so are you talking just pure connectivity that they buy as an outcome? They buy a connectivity. Is it internet? Is it carry Ethernet? Is it wavelengths? Is it cybersecurity products, SD-WAN? Can you give a little bit more articulation on that?
Yeah, it's a roadmap, right? It's a program that I'm working on my side, and what I can say, it's everything start for me from the connectivity side. It can be internet on demand, can be Ethernet on demand, can be wavelength. Ethernet is the simplest one that we're starting with. And on the top of that, so we're adding feature, on-demand feature. It can be a VPN, it can be traffic prioritization, which is equivalent to an SD-WAN. It can be encrypted routing. So it's layer of security and layer of feature that provide outcomes to the customer that they can use it only when they need it. If customer wants, as an example, dedicated bandwidth for a certain period of time, they will take it. They don't need to buy the whole package upfront. If they want the cloud connectivity for short term, also they can add it later on. That's the type of outcome that I'm looking for my customer.
Yeah, very innovative, actually. The commercial terms, is what you mentioned, is very hard to do. I think people think it's simple, but it's not that simple, because unless you're manufacturing that equipment, it's really hard to be able to deliver that as you go, pay as you use, and no commitments, no commercial contracts. And that is really challenging. So congratulations for even trying to solve that. But I have questions about the idea of connectivity. So what you're saying is that they can come into a portal of some sort, or either through APIs, and they can have elastic capabilities. They can change, they can upgrade, add new features in just from this portal or automation layer, and it happens instantaneously. There's no more calling people, getting quotes, all that stuff. So truly a cloud-like experience, right?
It's really a cloud-like experience. It's a platform, it's a portal where they can go and register at first step, and then they can go and have access to the price real time, depending on the address. They can have it. So the pure connectivity at the beginning, it's not real time. They will need like a few hours delay to get it up and running. But everything over the top, I would call it feature-wise, it would be instantaneously. So they can upgrade, scale up, scale down, depending on what they need, and they will get it real time.
Wow,
That's the idea.
that's really, that is truly the essence of NaaS, actually. So congratulations that you're actually going after the true value of NaaS. So I have a couple other questions. From your experience, it's what has been harder, the technology or the operating model? Because we just talked about the commercial model being, very complex and hard to deliver on.
I would say it's both. I would start with the technology first. Technology, it's been hard for us because we were trying to revamp the whole ecosystem, talking from an IT ecosystem to the network layer, and trying to go with a brand new technology like I would call it SRv6, which is something that that is differentiating how the way we can provision and automate things. That's something that was hard because not all the providers are supporting that, how we're doing the architecture inside the network, how we can simplify the network to simplify the zero-touch provisioning and all of that. It was hard. That's at first. But if I look at the other aspect, it's more the operational model, how we can make that happen with a big telecommunication provider. It's I would say it's a harder thing to shift the mindset from moving to a project to a product life cycle, providing outcome. That's something that is really challenging. Bringing the people to think outside of the box, going from the traditional selling cycle, the finance cycle, the network, the operation, like that's really hard. It's really something that is challenging.
You nailed it right now. The people always, I find, becomes a challenge, because now you're removing kind of salespeople from the equation. They don't need to go sell. Someone can come to the portal, look at what your offerings are, buy it, just like a cloud-like experience. And basically, there's no salespeople involved. So, or very little, to be honest with you. I honestly have questions. So do you find that kind of a little bit of a challenge where you are changing all the rules about how the whole life cycle from selling to implementation, adoption, all that is now changed to a very cloud-like model? And does that kind of upset some people inside the organization, not necessarily your organization, but generally as in anybody's organization trying to do this?
Yeah, it's challenging across every organization. If I'm talking specifically as an example with sales, It's really to explain the way that's going to work, what's going to be the renewal role. I'm not saying sales are outside of the picture specifically at the beginning. They need to be there to promote promote the NaaS environment, promote how it's going to work, go and talk to their customer existing base to promote that. Yes, customer doesn't need to talk to a salesperson to get and purchase NaaS. But the sales organization, for me, they have a new role and a new fit within this ecosystem to be more an architect, to be more an advisor about what they need to do and how they can do it. That's, for me, the sales fit on that NaaS journey.
Thank you. You know, I've talked to a lot of providers, worldwide vendors, so on, members. Basically, I've amplified 200 plus members. And what I find is really important, and the challenging part is when they try to automate, which is a complex task to begin with, in their networks, and then provide the NaaS experience and the outcomes that you just described, and the commercial models, and the whole workflow processes change. Why do you feel that enterprises want NaaS? Of course, I think they want it just naturally because they got that cloud experience and they got that from the cloud guys. Do they want that experience from the operators now, providers, to be exactly that same experience? Do you think that's kind of what including observability, they can see what's happening?
Yeah, I think that like a lot of software provider and cloud provider are evolving very fast. And when you look at the telecommunication provider, it's moving slow. So we cannot catch up. That's why I think NaaS is really important for the customer. We've talked about the rigidity of the contract. We talking about the complexity of things. Take as an example, customer who wants an internet service connectivity with another cloud feature or any SD-WAN functionality. It will take days and months to get it up and running. So we need to sync up and provide the same experience at the same level, removing that slowness that is happening there. Observability-wise, providing that transparency to the customer on what's going on, they can take action into that. And for me, observability is more important in the sense of the AI. I'll give you an example within the NaaS experience, like upselling based on the usage of the customer. One of the things, if you don't have to purchase from the beginning the bandwidth at the 3 gig. You can take a 1 gig, and if you need more based on your usage, you will have recommendation based on the AI and all of that, and you can take action based on it. Kind of the closed loop also happening on the network side.
That is very cool. So basically, you know, and this is really what the old world of providers, they never really gave visibility, observability to what was going on. So everybody had to prove that it was not working right, and there was a lot of trouble tickets and, you know, contact help desks and things. It was really, really the old world. What you're actually saying is kind of very innovative. You're saying not only do you provide observability, but you provide recommendations from AI assistants of giving recommendations of how they can get a better experience. I mean, even better price economics too. So that's very innovative. That's a very cool feature. So, so how do you feel like the APIs, you know, we have been doing these at Amplify, these automation APIs across the ecosystem. We call them lifecycle service orchestration APIs. We have a full lifecycle for everything from an address to quote, to ordering, to provisioning, to testing the service, performance management service, fault management, trouble ticketing, billing. So that's all done. We took 10 years, a lot of experience with that. We have a huge adoption now. Where do you see this all going in your terms with NaaS? And how do they fall short in real deployments in your ideas?
Yeah, exactly. So for us and for me, NaaS, it's fully automated. So there is no place for any manual tasks. So when we say that, it should be API driven, talking from system to system. So we're using TMF as part of the coding process, like for all the TMF 620 and 622, like from the code, the address, the product order, service order, activation, and so on. If I talk about the LSO API, it's really close to the TMF and all of that. Where I found that interesting in we're not using it right now as we speak, but where it falls in my roadmap, and once I go with the partners. So as an example, I'm going with Orange or any other provider to get the NaaS from their side. So that's where I found it interesting. So we can talk the same language and we can activate the service based on what they have. And that's something that I'm working with other. I gave Orange as an example, but I'm not working with them right now. I'm working with other provider right now to see how we can fit together toward that journey.
You know, and that's exactly what we've been working on. Is we don't really work within your network, so TM Forum does a really good job of that. So we certainly respect that, and that's the collaboration we had. We've really been solving across the ecosystem. So you know where you have to interconnect with other partners, as you talked about, and the providers to provide that service to your customer. Our APIs are built on TM Forum APIs, but more for interoperability across the ecosystem, which incorporates more than just API interoperability, which we spent, you know, a decade maturing the whole lifecycle, but the data models too. You know, what is an IP or internet data model or carrier Ethernet data model, which TM Forum never defined, and we did. So it really allows, if you think about what we're saying, is that if you're going to plug in across the ecosystem, you need interoperability. And you need to have the interoperability at the API layer, and that includes the data model. So that's kind of what we've been doing, and I'm glad to see that you've kind of embraced basically fundamentally the polymorphism of the TM Forum, which we went and did the same thing, but matured it for the ecosystem, what we call the east-west direction. So, you know, if you had to redesign NaaS from scratch, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
Very good question here. Few things I would say. I'll start with the first one is really the organization. If I have to redo it, if I go back 2 years ago, it's really to align the organization on an incubation and silent environment. I would not start across the board. I would not start with everything, with the big strategy, really do something right at a small scale. Second thing, I would go with a dedicated team member from all the organization. I would start with a small team, like from product to operational team to the dev team, everything under one single direction, not cross the organization. And the last one, I would say I would not commit to any revenue for the launch year. So that's really important. So that way you can deliver without having that commitment, so you can do things right and not rush after the delivery date. That's
Now, no revenue for the launch year, right? Not the launch year.
exactly. No, the launch year. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the first year, I would say no commitment on revenue. And I actually, Pascal, I heard that from another provider during my first Amplify conference last year, not this one, the one before. One of my colleague on Amplify, he told me, Salma, do not commit on any revenue first year. And now I understand that, what he was talking about.
You know, we think of NaaS as network as a service. It's been around for a long time, but at Amplify, we matured it to have a little bit more context, which we won't get into in this episode. But I do agree with you that it is very complicated, because to automate internally is a very complicated task. So you either have to go greenfield or try to plug into the old world, which is riddled and mired full of complexities of integration. So it is really complex and tough. And so you're right. And then not only if you have to go in the old world and integrate, you have to get everything right. And that takes a long time. And then you're pressured for revenue to get into your customers. And that is hard. Now, if you're greenfield, it's a whole different story. I think that's much, much easier to do if you're greenfield and you just start. And I know some telcos have said, you know what, I am not putting my NaaS platform on the old stuff. I'm going to build brand new, make that a greenfield, use maybe the fiber assets, and that's it. But everything else, the business systems, the operational systems, everything is not going to be brand new, built from a cloud-like experience. And that, I think, is much more practical.
And that's exactly where we went. So we went on a greenfield from the network to the IT system. But sometimes when you try to integrate that and scale it at large with the operational team on the business team, so they are used to do something somehow. Now they need to integrate with that, and sometimes you need to integrate with smaller legacy system. I would say I would say it, and then that's that's where we're running in between right now. So we have the greenfield, we have the legacy tool set, but there is in between that we need a minimum integration on that. And maybe if I go, what's something that if I had to do differently, other than the revenue, also let ongoing efficiency program go on their own, and then build the new on the side. So that way there is no expectation, oh, NaaS is going to be ready, so everything is going there. Let the ongoing efficiency program run on their own. And then once you're ready, then that's when you integrate with them.
Oh, interesting. So we basically have two trains running, and slowly you bring customers onto the new train as they see value. And so the revenue pressure for the company is not quite there because they can run the old train.
Exactly.
Of how they're doing things. Very insightful. Salma, thank you for being a guest on this episode on the show. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was very, very great insight. And thank you for all that valuable knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you, Pascal.
Thank you for listening to Executives at the Edge, brought to you by Amplify. Be sure to follow, share, and leave a review. Catch every episode on your favorite platform or visit us at amplify.net.